Uh-oh, it's that time of year again. Welcome, my non-existent viewers, to Top 9 Week. I've taken a little bit of a break from making videos within the past week-ish. New Year's Eve I did my Q&A live stream with my friend Eric and Daily Reacts TV, and this past Monday, New Year's Day, I made my schizo rambling looking back on 2023 video, and I decided to take a little bit of a break because today, January 7th, the time I'm recording this video, is going to mark Top 9/5 week for the next 7 days, the first full week of January, or should I say the second full week of January if you follow European calendar. It goes from Monday to Sunday. But anyways, this January 7th all the way till Saturday, January 13th, I'm going to be hitting you guys with top 5s and top 9 videos, starting with my top 9 favorite movies of 2023. Now, 2023 was a very, it was such a weird, it was a very interesting year for movies. I saw a lot of really great films and some not so great films. And keep in mind, this list, I don't want to sound like I'm beating a dead horse here because I've said this before in previous, top 9 best movies of the respective year just ended videos, in the past. But this list is, there's 3 things to keep in mind. First of all, this is based purely off of my opinion. It's okay if you disagree with any of my picks for the best movies that came out this year. If you feel like I give some movies too high on the list or not, or too low on the list, that's totally fine. If you have your own top 10 or top 5 or top 20 favorite movies 2023 list, let me know in the comments down below. Second is also this list is based purely off of the films that I have seen, and also this list is slightly subject to change. Not only are there a lot of probably really great films I have not watched that came out in 2023, there's also some films that I might change my mind on later down the road, because there have been times over the years where I've made list videos. I'm man, I really should have put that movie way higher on my list, or I gave that movie an honorable mention when it really deserved to be on my list. So I've considered because the Golden Globe nominees were announced recently, and I'm anxiously waiting for the Oscar nominees to be announced. I've considered making a tier list when Oscar weekend comes around. I'll wait for the Best Picture nominees to be announced, and I'll do a whole tier list when the Oscars roll around right before the award ceremony, ranking all the 2023 films I've seen from worst to best. We'll cross the bridge when we get there, though. Before we get to the list, though, I have some honorable mentions. Megan, or should I say Mathregan, Scream 6, Talk to Me, Gran Turismo, and Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. All those are fantastic films. I'm really bummed that they couldn't really crack the list because I'm up early for work tomorrow. If it seems like I'm about to fall asleep behind my camera, my apologies in advance. So let's begin. So this is the first of actually quite a few animated films that are going to be on my top 9 list. Kicking off the list is the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I saw the movie once in theaters during my my YouTube hiatus this past spring, and I also watched it a second time my flight home from Rome. My mom and I were in Italy this past August on vacation, and yeah, I'm this film, this was on my most anticipated movies of the year list video that I made last year. It did not disappoint. This time, it's so just heck yes to Illumination Studios for hitting it out of the park as much as they did. Rotten Tomatoes, the critics didn't really give this movie a very positive review. They're very wrong. This film's animation was gorgeous. Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Day, Jack Black, Seth Rogen, all the voice actors did such a fantastic job voicing these iconic characters. You got Mario, Luigi, Peach, Bowser, Donkey Kong, Toad, and I hear there's going to be sequels. I hear that Charlie Day is is considered making a Luigi's Mansion movie. If that happens, I'll be very excited for it. And the film's soundtrack and the the animation work, it was just so on point. And yeah, Illumination. I still haven't seen Migration, but just remembering how much fun I had at Super Mario Bros. I definitely need to do so because I grew up playing the Super Mario Bros. Games a lot as a kid, and this film, unlike that 1993 atrocity we don't speak of, really did the Mario franchise justice. My number 8 spot goes to Killers of the Flower Moon. People have hailed this movie as Martin Scorsese's masterpiece, which says a lot considering, Martin Scorsese has such an impressive, filmography. Him and, Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio this is the dream team right there. Those two actors working with such an iconic director. Their performances were so on point, as well as Lily Gladstone with Leonardo DiCaprio's wife in this movie. It's inspired from true events. It holds a mirror to humanity and America's very, very, very bumpy history with its treatment towards Native Americans and other minority groups. The main reason why Killers of the Flower Moon is not like higher up on my list is that it's really not like a casual film going experience. It's 3 hours and 26 minutes long, and a lot of scenes are very depressing and difficult to watch. I was just like, oh man, this is happening, like, oh geez. But yeah, like if you're in the mood for just a very like dense, if you don't feel like, if you feel like this movie is a little too depressing, watch more than once, that's totally okay. But if you haven't seen Killers of the Flower Moon yet, please give it a chance. My number 7 spot, the man, the myth, the legend, Hayao Miyazaki came out of retirement for this masterpiece, The Boy and the Heron. Like, this film's, like, the animation, like, just when you thought, like, Studio Ghibli couldn't, like, better themselves as Spirited Away and their other classics, like Howl's Moving Castle, they taught themselves again. This film's animation was just so gorgeous, and it's such an interesting story, and it had such a, like, you know, both with like, the whole fantastical elements, and it's, like, harrowing depiction of, like, civilian life in a World War II like setting, Japan. And like, you know, I haven't seen this movie in its Japanese, like, you know, the Japanese audio with the subtitles. I really want to do so, but the English dub for this film, like the cast they brought together for it was just very like particular, but also very well done. Like Robert Pattinson, he voices the titular heron that accompanies the boy and this guide into this like spirit world. And, like, Robert Pattinson, I just have so much respect for the guy. Like, you know, this year with Boy and the Heron, this is the second year in a row that, like, Robert Pattinson has made his way onto, like, my top 9 favorite movies of the year list. Because last year he was on he was in the Batman, which is in my last year's list, too. He's come such a long way since Twilight, and it's just, like, I'm really, really looking forward to, like, whatever he does next. And I really need to give this movie a second watch, preferably as Japanese audio. Probably one of the most underrated comedies that came out this year. My number 6 spot goes to Joyride. This is such a, like, peculiar tale because it is a raunch comedy that totally deserves its R rating. Like, seriously, if you haven't seen Joyride yet, like, I warn you, one scene in particular, like, what has been seen cannot be unseen. But it has Stephanie Hsu, it has Sarah Park, and it has such an endearing cast. These 4 characters, this Chinese adoptee going to China, like, find out who her like, you know, her like biological mother is. They go on this whole adventure. There's all these shenanigans, and it's very raunchy. There's drugs, there's like sex jokes, and there's just like there's so much heart to back it up. It's like, this is how you do like a comedy right, because I feel like the issue that I have with like certain comedies that they're almost like too reliant on the R rating to make you laugh. This film definitely was, but it was also reliant on other things. And yeah, I hear that it didn't do so great at box office. This year, like 2023, we saw a lot of films like bomb at the box office, and you can't really like blame the pandemic for that anymore, sadly. So I really feel like if you haven't seen Joyride yet, like, give it a chance. You won't be, if you're like someone who really like appreciates like Asian representation in film, and if you like, you know, comedies like this, give it a chance. Number 5. All right, we're cracking my top 5 list. The memes that came out of like Barbenheimer this year. Like, you know, Barbie, I was just like, I saw that movie twice in theaters. I was very impressed. I'm super happy for it that it was the highest grossing movie of the year, and that like it's, you know, up for as many Golden Globe nominations as it has been, but it does not hold a candle to Oppenheimer. Like, Christopher Nolan, my man, like, give the guy his Oscar for Best Director already. Seriously, Academy, what are you doing? Like, Cillian Murphy and Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh and Robert Downey Jr. and Matt Damon, even Josh Peck of all people were in this movie. Like, the cast, the direction, the cinematography, the score, the foreboding sense of war, and like the nuclear bomb being tested and they all being dropped, you know, to end World War II with like Albert Einstein and all these other people involved. Like, this is just Christopher Nolan at his absolute best. And I only seen this movie once in theaters. I need to buy it on DVD because Christopher Nolan is like one of my favorite directors. And I like, seriously, this and like Killers of the Flower Moon, I could easily see it going between either Christopher Nolan for like Oppenheimer or Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon. I could see it going both ways. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like Killers of the Flower Moon wins the Oscar for Best Director for Martin Scorsese, but I really hope that Oppenheimer wins for Best Director. Like fingers crossed. Alright, my number 4 spot goes to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Might seem a little unconventional in putting this movie this high on my list, but like I grew up a massive Ninja Turtles fan. I still haven't watched like the Nickelodeon like TV show for Ninja Turtles, and I haven't watched a 2007 like animated like computer animated Ninja Turtles film in years. This film, Mutant Mayhem, definitely made me want to do so, because this, unpopular opinion, might be like the Ninja Turtles at their absolute best, like on the big screen at least. Like this film's animation, like really just embracing the animation like aspect of animation, that makes any sense, with like the choppy frames and like the unconventional art style, and like they actually cast like teenage sounding voice actors voice the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The voice acting was just so on point. You have Jackie Chan, you have Ice Cube, you have John Cena, Seth Rogen, even Post Malone of all people, Rose Byrne, just so many just super cool people voicing all these mutants. And stick around for the post-credits scene if you haven't already, because like it seems like they're going for making these animated Ninja Turtles films like a franchise, and I seriously hope that happens. And I also I do have a really special place in my heart like for like Mutant Mayhem, because like this was the like I rewatched my a few of my movie reviews like for films I've put on this list to get ready to make this video, and I rewatched my like our movie review for like Mutant Mayhem. I filmed that movie review with my 2 roommates I had this summer at Utica in upstate New York, Robert and Mason. Shout out to you two, by the way, for watching this video. You guys know who you are. I got kind of emotional rewatching that review, because that was like that was our second last night all living together. Like my internship at Utica Zoo ended the day after that, and like the day after that, I moved back home to like my old house with my dad here in New Jersey. And being in Utica this summer, interning at Utica Zoo was, I've said it like this already in like a few other videos I've made this year. I'll say it again here. It was probably the best summer of my life. And this was like seeing this movie with like Robert and Mason, which is we ended the summer on a simple but positive note, and I really cherish that memory with you guys. Alrighty, moving my top 3. Like this is like the bronze medal for the best film that came out this year. I know I did like back in I think it was back in July. I did make like a tier list video ranking all the films I'd seen so far. It was like the second half of the year, like seeing all the films between January and July this year, ranking them from worst to best. I was tempted to do like the same thing from like the July to December films that came out this year, or should I say August to December films from worst to best list. I didn't end up making that video because I just seen like it's New Year's, like what's the point in doing so. If I did make a video ranking all the films I'd seen in the past 6 months, the second half of 2023 from worst to best, this totally would have cracked list. And that, my friends, is Godzilla -1. I've been a huge Godzilla fan for years, and like this film was made on the budget of like reportedly less than 15, the Japanese yen equivalent of like 15 million American dollars. Its CGI like looks better than like these $200 million like big budget superhero blockbuster Hollywood films I've seen like within the past few years. Like that is really saying something. They made Godzilla so scary. They took the original design from the Showa era and like made him look super menacing. And yes, just like this in 2014's Godzilla is used more sparingly, but unlike 2014's Godzilla, you actually give a crap about the human characters. Like this film, like the failed kamikaze pilot, him having to survive like a post like World War II Japan with this girl and his love interest, and just like having to like the performances were so well done, and the score just they mix like the original like da 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 with from the original Godzilla films with some new sounds. They like and just the destruction, the scene, the foreboding sense of just like anything just go wrong at any moment. Like Godzilla, like, I'm very, very psyched for Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. It's like, part of me wishes that there were really more Godzilla films like this, because this is not about, like, you know, Godzilla fighting King Ghidorah or Kong or Mechazilla or any other, like, titans. This is not set in the MonsterVerse. It's not tied into, like, any other movies. But it doesn't need to be. Not every Godzilla film has to be that way, and part of me kind of wishes that there were more Godzilla films from Toho Studios like this. I still haven't seen Shin Godzilla, but I really want to now. But at the same time, part of me wishes that there weren't, because it makes Godzilla Minus One even more special. That, like, hey, while there's other films that studios are kind of, like, churning out nowadays, like, they really took the time to make us, like, a masterpiece. And yeah, I love the MonsterVerse. I love what Legendary Studios is doing with, you know, the whole universe. Like, and I do consider the MonsterVerse films the more rewatchable films, that more, like, you know, fun blockbuster popcorny sense. But it's like, Toho Studios, Legendary Studios, I salute both of you. Keep up the awesome work. All right, my number two, my second favorite movie that came out this year. Again, if you guys disagree with me for putting this movie this high on my list, I totally understand. But this film, it really sung to me. 2023 was a really hit or miss year for Marvel movies. You'll see what I mean when I make my worst list tomorrow, like, you know, my top 9 worst movies of 2023 list. But with my top 2 best movies of the year, like, that, my number 2 spot goes to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Like, this film, again, this was one out of quite a few films I saw during my hiatus from making YouTube videos this past spring. And, like, this was... The Guardians of the Galaxy's, like, storyline was, like, the only, like, loose end that was untied after Avengers Endgame, and this film finally tied up that loose end with Star-Lord and Drax and Gamora and Rocket and Groot and all these, like, iconic characters and a few new ones we've just been introduced to. And, like, it wasn't really have much else to do with the other MCU films on purpose. Like, James Gunn, like, oh man, I love that guy. Like, as a writer and as a director, like, he really just, like, closed out his trilogy on a positive note. The soundtrack, the action scenes, the visuals, the cinematography, the writing, the acting. It was one of the most emotional MCU films, of the entire franchise, as a matter of fact. And yeah, like, when this film is, like, it's so quotable, and I really took it to heart. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence, because I've talked about this before in previous videos made this year, and I'll say it again here. I was supposed to intern at a place, you know, back in March, and that internship fell through for, you know, bull crap reasons, and I was... that's why I took my hiatus. Like, that's why I didn't, like, give this film a proper review, because I saw it during my hiatus making videos. I just needed to disconnect from YouTube and just, like, focus on myself this past spring. But, like, this film being released during that time, while I was supposed to be interning at that place, that screwed me over this past spring. You know, because Mantis tells Star-Lord, hey, you've, like, or, like, Drax and Mantis together, they tell Star-Lord, like, hey, life is a pond, and you've been jumping through so many ponds. Maybe it's time to pick the pond and learn how to swim. And, you know, if you haven't seen the movie, I won't ruin the ending for you, but, like, Star-Lord heeds that advice. And I figured it was time I did the same thing, you know, because I've moved a lot within the past, like, you know, 2 years, ever since I graduated from college. And with things been going on, I've, like, been so, like, just charging ahead, trying to find a spot where, like, a place where I can, you know, make my stand. But, like, ultimately, after interning Utica this summer, I came all the way back home to New Jersey. So everything went full circle. And yeah, just, like, you know, the whole mantra, pick up on, learn how to swim, I decided to heed that advice too. Alrighty. My favorite movie of 2023. Like I said, 2023 was a very hit or miss year for Marvel movies. And like, in my past, like, a few years, like, ever since 2015, ever since I've been, like, reviewing movies on my YouTube channel, I am so insanely happy that an animated film has finally taken home the spot for being my favorite movie of the certain years I've been reviewing movies. That, my friends, is Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. Like, holy cow, this review, like I said, I took a hiatus making videos this year. This movie broke my hiatus. I was like, okay, I've left Colorado for the internship in New York this summer, and it was rocking and rolling. My first week just ended, and Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse was finally here, and I gotta end my hiatus by reviewing this movie tonight. Give this movie the 9 out of 9 stars that it deserves. This film and its predecessor, Into the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, I talked about this in my review, I'll say it again here. It's not a film I really praised enough when it was released way back in 2018. And this franchise, Beyond the Spider-Verse, I hear it's been delayed already, and I'm not upset about that. Sony Animation, please feel free to take your time with these projects. If we have to wait a little extra for them, that's great. This film ended on such a brutal cliffhanger, but the Spider-Verse, it's nothing without Miles Morales or Gwen Stacy. All these super iconic characters like Peter Parker are coming back, and some new ones too, like Spider-Man India and Spider-Punk, voiced by Daniel Kaluuya. Oh my gosh, these two especially were just so quotable. Chai literally means D. You are saying DD. When this movie was hilarious. The animation was, oh my goodness, the animation. I can't praise the animation enough. It's just the storyline, I don't feel right calling Across the Spider-Verse a kid's movie, because it's so, even though it's PG, it's so layered and so complex with storytelling, and that's what made it so special. It was you see, and it was jaw-dropping, there was twists and turns, the voice acting was brilliant, the animation was brilliant, the writing was brilliant. The action scenes were brilliant, and the laughs were brilliant. There is not a scene in Across the Spider-Verse or Into the Spider-Verse that isn't brilliant. And I'm so thankful this film turned out as amazing as it did. It was my most anticipated film of 2023, and it's so satisfying seeing when your most anticipated film of a year ends up being your personal favorite as well. Alright, there you guys have it, my top 9 favorite movies of 2023. Like I said at the start of this video, if you have your own list, let me leave them down in the comments down below, and subscribe to my channel please, and stay tuned for my top 9 worst movies of 2023 list. Oh, I'm excited to burn some trash tomorrow. Alright, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so already, and stay beastly.